name is Blake Everard, and this is my development internship presentation. I decided to do my presentation with counterculture in Baton Rouge from May 1st to July 24th. A little bit of history about counterculture is that it was founded in 1977 by Jan Middleton in Shreveport, Louisiana, and since then have opened 3 more locations, one in Slidell, one in Gonzales, and one in Baton Rouge, and are currently looking to expand one more time into the Madisonville-Covington area in the next few months. I've had the opportunity to work with counterculture for the last 3 years and the privilege of building a relationship with the owner of Baton Rouge's counterculture, Brian Dunn, as well as further understanding my expectations as an employee. Unfortunately, the other employees don't quite understand their expectations the way I do, and this is where my responsibilities came into play for this internship. They include training new employees, correcting bad habits, revising procedures, creating schedules, fulfilling payroll, and filling order inventories weekly. As stated previously, my responsibilities are pretty clear. Let's start with scheduling. Now, I'm sure you know this by now, but most high school and college students aren't the most reliable people on earth. They don't know what they want to do tomorrow, let alone a week from now. And this is where the problem became a real issue. Every week, Brian would expect each employee to fill out their availability for the next week and send it to him via email. After 20 or 25 emails being sent to him, he would then have to set them all up into a spreadsheet and send it out. Sometimes having to repeat this process 2 or 3 times because people's schedules conflicted with one another. Now, you could see how this can become time-consuming, especially when there's other matters at hand to attend to. So he gave me the task, and he told me I could either do it his way with the emails, or I could find a new way to do it and change it. And that's just what I did. I had such a headache doing it the email way at first that I couldn't even look at my phone anymore, so I decided to change it. I found an app called When I Work that allows the employees to schedule themselves and to set their schedule however they'd like to. And they couldn't set a schedule they couldn't set their schedule unless there was an open spot, which allowed people to be more punctual. This was a very successful app, and I'll get more into it in a little while when I go over to evidence. Now let's cover payroll. Now we had a similar issue with payroll. A lot of the employees would come up to Brian 2 or 3 times a week, asking him how much they're earning, how many tips are being implemented into their paycheck, and how much tax they're getting taken out. This again was a time-consuming matter that Brian was too nice to actually nip it in the butt with. So he let me handle the payroll, and he let me take over finding a new way to let the employees know what they're earning. And I found another app called ADP, which allowed each employee to figure out how much hours they're working, what their wages were, how many tips they were getting, and the taxes that were being taken out, all in one step. Again, I'll show you some screenshots a little bit later, and we'll further go into detail. Let's move on to training. And this is by far one of my favorite fields, because I like working with people, and quite frankly, the new employees are pretty fun, and they're usually quick to pick things up if you teach them the right way. And that's just it. That brings us to the procedures. Some of the employees at Counterculture have been there 10 plus years and are pretty much set in their ways. Unfortunately, this leads to bad habits through the newer employees and is exactly why I was in charge of creating a procedures list. I got tired of hearing, but my way is better, when in fact, their way was not better at all. It may be quicker, but it definitely cut corners and made an overall more sloppy product. And that's not what the customer pays a little extra for. I'll go into detail and show you more about the procedures that I took in a few moments. Let's look at my leadership goals. Delegation and decisiveness are essential in successful leadership, as well as communication and understanding, which is why I chose them as my leadership goals. They go hand in hand and will ultimately unlock the keys to success once understood and mastered in the workplace. And now at the bottom of the slide is a snip from my journal, from one of the journal entries that refers to my previous "My Way is Better" comment. And the employees that fall into this category, or who say "My way is better," for argument's sake, we'll call them Brittany's. And, Brittany represents patience. Coming from an Irish and German background, my temper and patience can sometimes be a little short, therefore is exactly why I chose to work on it and chose it as a leadership goal. I believe that patience and understanding patience will further help me understand communication, understanding, delegation, and decisiveness. And I have a story on it a little bit later that will help this a little more. Evidence. Now we are finally to the nitty-gritty of the internship. Remember when I said not all employees understand their roles? Well, this employee expectation agreement form reminds them exactly what their responsibilities are as employees and as faces of the company. They are required to read and further understand and sign this form before starting work, and it is kept in their file in case they ever need to review it, just refresh their memory, or in case there's in need of disciplinary action. If you look at the top left corner of this slide, you'll see a screenshot of the ADP app. Now, this is my screenshot of my personal ADP account, so I took the liberty of Xing out all the important stuff. But you still get the idea. There's a little pie chart that breaks down the green, which is the hours worked, the red, which is the tips, and the orange, which include the overtime. It shows you exactly how much your gross pay is and how much you will take home, which include your taxes being taken out. And in addition, another little highlight of my internship, my boss and I figured out that there is a 401k option at the ADP, with the ADP program. And this allows employees who've worked with us for over a year and who are 18 or older to start investing. And you better believe that I've already started investing. I've had a really fun time helping others and some of the younger guys who are just turning 18 really start their investment and just kind of get going. It helps out, and in the long run, it'll definitely pay off. Now let's scooch over to the right a little bit. You'll see a couple screenshots with a green heading, and it says When I Work. That's the scheduling app. And this app is excellent, might I add. It allows you to see what time your shift starts that very day. You can set reminders a day in advance, up to a couple hours in advance. And as you see on the left screenshot, it has time off requests, shift requests, and new work chat messages. This allows each employee to talk amongst themselves and trade shifts as needed. Also, it allows for Brian and I to add everybody in a group message to convey some important information, or just simply talk to a single shift specifically. Now to the bottom of the slide, you'll see it says Kitchen Weekly Cleaning Task List. A lot of times, business is slow at night, so some employees don't really understand what to do, or they don't have the proper knowledge of what to fulfill. And this alleviates that. These are the basic cleaning procedures that are needed in order to ensure a clean kitchen and make sure everything goes off unhinged. There's a little space next to each one so that you should sign it, and that lets you know that upholds each employee for their own accountability and lets us know if someone's slacking or who does a really good job that day. Likewise, to the right of that, there are two sheets it's the day shift duties and the night shift duties. This is what's supposed to be done in preparation each day, every day of the week, all weeks of the year, because preparation is the most important thing when a restaurant is involved. Again, there's a spot where people are able to sign next to it to ensure that they have completed the task and that they are aware what their expectations were for that night or day. In recollection of earlier in this presentation, I said that people like to do things their own way. And this was more so the case when it came to preparation of recipes and preparing the food for the week or the day. We had an issue with our older employees just kind of eyeballing the ingredients and eyeballing what to put in where. And this was an issue when it came time to train new employees, because half the time they didn't know how to do it, and everyone relied on one or two people, me included, to do the actual prep work, which is kind of a headache at times, and especially when you have other things to work on. So I went to the source herself. I called Jan Middleton, the owner of the entire franchise, earlier this summer, and we had a discussion on how all of our recipes should be congruent with one another. She was, needless to say, elated that I contacted her with this issue, and she then decided to give me her email and send me an email with all the recipes included. I then compiled all the recipes and made a nice little book that consisted of 50 pages. I only took about 4 pictures just to give you an idea, and afterwards I had scanned a copy of it and sent to her. She was so excited she couldn't help but come over and congratulate me and visit our counterculture branch. Also, if you look at the top right corner of this slide, you'll see a refrigerator with the previous slide's picture posted on them. This refrigerator is a centerpiece of our kitchen and is very, very difficult to pass up. Therefore, is a perfect spot for the checklist. And in case someone does miss it, I happen to put some nice little decorative purple arrows next to one of them so they really, really catches their eye. We haven't had any issues since, and hopefully it stays that way. A couple challenges that I encountered with this internship include breaking through the friend to supervisor boundary and stubborn employees such as the Britneys. As I said before, I was a worker. I was a worker at Counterculture for about 3 years before this internship. Therefore, I kind of built a relationship as a really good friend to some of the employees, and some of the employees are really good friends of mine as well. So, at first, it was a little weird telling everybody what to do and how to do it, but after the little learning curve and the joking subsided, we all pretty much came to the agreement that we're at work, and while we're at work, we should really do what's best for the company. So we never really had too much issues after that, but for the first, I'd say, month or so, it was kind of a learning curve for all of us. That is, except for the Britneys. They didn't have issues with the procedures, the policies, more so the cell phone policy. We had a couple complaints that some of our employees were focusing too much on their cell phones and not enough on the customers, especially the employees that are working in the front that directly come in contact with the customers. So we had a cell phone policy concocted. It stated that employees in the front were not to use their cell phone while customers were in the building. This meant that whenever customers weren't there, which happens a lot, and their jobs are done, they're allowed to be on their cell phones. That seems pretty reasonable enough to me, and my boss, and most other employees. But for some reason, they couldn't help themselves. So, on a couple of occasions, they were on their cell phones, and on the third time they were caught, as stated in our cell phone policy, their tips for the pay period were removed. Now, before you get all bent out of shape, we don't rely on our tips to be paid. We get paid an hourly wage, so tips are just a plus. They're a benefit. So, they had a very big issue with this and decided that it warranted a meeting with my boss and I. And so we sat down with them one day, and after my boss further discussed it, we all came to an agreement that it was best for the company, and yeah, they can wait till there's no customers in the store. It's pretty reasonable and pretty lenient. I mean, after all, we are a company that's based on the service of our customers, and we rely on them for our business, right? Now for the achievements. I'd say throughout my internship, I achieved my goals as a leader. My delegation, my decisiveness, communication, understanding goals were definitely met, whether it be through my innovative apps that I found or the new procedures that we laid out for our employees. We definitely were able to figure out and help delegate the task for each individual employee, exactly when they need to do it and how they need to do it. This alleviated a lot of time for us, and we got a lot done and a lot accomplished. As for patience, I definitely think I worked on it, and I definitely think I've improved, especially with the Britneys. I came to an understanding with them just by communication, and that's how effective that is. Being able to talk to them and sit down with them really opened up their point of view and my point of view for it, and because we both were able to keep an open mind throughout the process, we're definitely be able to help each other, and we're definitely able to help the company overall. So I believe that I achieved my goals, and hopefully these goals will further me in my development as my career progresses. To end my presentation, I would like to end with a quote. Example is not the main thing in influencing others. It's the only thing. And this spoke volumes about my internship experience as well as what I want to do with my career in the future. I joined up with the Marine Corps, and I'm signed to leave in January of next year. And to me, this quotation speaks as, do as I do, not do as I say. And I think that's really important because if we get into the habit of doing something the wrong way and telling those new people who are coming on board how to do it the right way, they're not going to really care. They're watching, they're observing how you do it. They don't care about what you're talking about. They only care about what you do. And setting a good example is doing something the right way the first time, every time. Thank you.